a few years ago, after I had written my book on climate justice, I was still a little bit, not a little bit, very worried about the fact that we still weren't communicating well the climate issue. So I got involved in a podcast. Actually, I wanted to make a documentary, and I was referred to experts on documentary called Doc Society. And I was told, no, a documentary takes a bit long. You're not probably the best person anyway to do it. No, forget that. Think about a podcast. And being an elder, I had to ask the question, what's a podcast? So I got over that problem, and they said, leave it with us. And they came back to me a few weeks later, and they said, we think we've got somebody who can be a very good person to do the podcast with you. She's a comedian. And I went, comedian? And she's Irish. And it turned out to be a great success, because Maeve Higgins is the name of the comedian. She's based in New York. She's a very funny comedian, but she's also she has a very strong social conscience. She didn't know anything much about climate. And she was 8 years old when I was elected president. And part of her humor is to be half respectful of me, which, of course, goes down very well in Ireland, needless to say, but it seems to have a wider impact. And we were using humor a lot to interview on our podcast women of the global south and women of the south of the United States. We've done 3 sessions, and we're about to start another session of Mothers of Invention. But our byline was a bit provocative, because it said that climate change is a man-made problem and requires a feminist solution. And this was... This was sort of in the back of my mind last April, when I was meeting again with one of the women's networks that I belong to, called Connected Women Leaders. And these are women who are very much in the communications and media world, which is not my world, to be honest. I don't have a social media following. I'm an elder. Anyway, but I had already had a lot of contact, and we had linked the commitments of Connected Women Leaders, which was food security, health issues, and climate change, into recognizing the intersectionality of all of those, especially when you talk about climate justice. So they had become very aware of the need for a climate justice approach. And when we met last April, I just became more urgent, because I do feel that urgency of the crisis.